Are we going to have an AI bubble?
51.2 billion of your 57 billion revenue number came from the data center chip sale.
Largest AI infrastructure project by far in history.
Massive $500 billion project.
It's got a market cap of $4.5 trillion, makes it the world's most valuable company.
What if I told you the future of artificial intelligence is being built not in Silicon Valley boardrooms, but in remote towns filled with concrete, cooling pipes, and endless humming machines? Behind every chatbot, behind every AI revolution headline, lies something much bigger, a trillion-dollar race for compute power. On the news, 3 names dominate this hidden empire: Nvidia, Oracle, and OpenAI. Titans, innovators, each worth more than the GDP of most countries. The media calls it the new AI gold rush. Stock prices soar, fortunes balloon, politicians pose for photographs. Investors gaze up at the numbers, wide-eyed, hungry. It feels unstoppable, too big to fail. Together, they're building the physical backbone of artificial intelligence, an empire of chips, servers, and electricity that could one day control who gets to build the future and who doesn't. But beneath that surface, a different story begins to unfold. And like all the best stories, it starts with a question. Is this breathtaking growth real, or are we watching history's most sophisticated illusion? It all started with a chatbot, ChatGPT. The moment it went viral, AI wasn't just a buzzword anymore. It became the new gold rush. Every company wanted in. Billions of dollars poured in. But while everyone was distracted by the software, the real money was flowing into something far more tangible. Enter Nvidia, the company quietly selling the digital pickaxes for the AI gold rush. Their GPUs became the new currency of power. And in a world where compute equals intelligence, Nvidia suddenly became the most important company on the planet. But building AI at this scale needs more than chips. It needs massive, power-hungry infrastructure. And that's where Oracle and a few secret deals enter the story.
In 2024, reports surfaced of a deal so large it sounded like science fiction. OpenAI and Oracle, a $300 billion multi-year partnership to build something called Project Stargate, a network of super data centers designed to host OpenAI's future models, powered by Nvidia's most advanced chips. One of them, in Abilene, Texas, is reportedly set to house 450,000 Nvidia GPUs. To put that in perspective, that's more computing power than many entire nations. And Nvidia, they're not just selling GPUs anymore. They're investing up to $100 billion to make sure these supercenters run on their hardware. Oracle provides the land and cloud, OpenAI provides the brains, Nvidia provides the muscle. It's like if Tony Stark, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk decided to start a joint project, but instead of rockets, they're building digital gods.
AI isn't floating in the cloud, it's inside the massive infrastructure powered by gigawatts of electricity. To train something like GPT-5, OpenAI needs entire power plants worth of energy. Each Nvidia GPU consumes hundreds of watts. Multiply that by hundreds of thousands, and you start to realize why electricity is becoming AI's biggest cost. This isn't just a technology race, it's an infrastructure arms race. And whoever wins doesn't just make money, they control the next decade of human innovation. In 2025, OpenAI, the company that redefined the boundaries of machine learning, announced something extraordinary: a groundbreaking partnership with Oracle and Nvidia. massive infrastructure, mind-bending capital, and a vision to build the backbone of the artificial age. Headlines scream numbers so big they barely make sense. $300 billion from OpenAI to Oracle for cloud, $100 billion in Nvidia's new hardware commitments, an AI ecosystem where everyone buys from everyone. At first glance, it looks unstoppable. But behind these interlocking deals, these trillion-dollar commitments, some analysts see something else entirely. A perfect loop. Money flowing from Nvidia to OpenAI, from OpenAI to Nvidia, around and round and around again. If this all sounds confusing, you're not alone. It's designed that way. A financial Ouroboros swallowing its own tail. Some call it creative synergy. Others call it round-tripping, a polite term for generating revenue out of thin air. Round-tripping has a simple mechanism, but a devastating potential. Company A invests in Company B. Company B spends that investment to buy from Company A. Each reports record revenue. Stock prices soar, but no new value is actually created. It's financial smoke and mirrors, numbers bouncing between gleaming headquarters, puffing up valuations and egos alike. Let's travel back for a moment, down memory lane, past the neon haze of the dot-com bubble, through the rubble of the 2001 Enron collapse. Networks of shell companies, creative accounting, numbers that looked unstoppable until they stopped. People lost retirement savings. Jobs disappeared overnight. How could so many have been fooled, we ask? Didn't anyone see this coming? The answer, then and now, lies partly in the brilliance of illusion and in our hunger to believe. Because everybody loves a good story, especially when it ends with everyone gets rich. A decade ago, this would have triggered flashing warning lights at the SEC. Today, in the chaos and charisma of the AI boom, it's being cheered as synergy. Here's where things get uncomfortable, because Nvidia doesn't just dominate the GPU market, it is the GPU market. Over 80% of AI chips worldwide carry their logo. And when you combine that with Oracle's data center network and OpenAI's software dominance, you don't just get an ecosystem, you get a potential monopoly of the mind. Some antitrust experts call this vendor capture, where the suppliers end up controlling innovation itself. If one company decides who gets access to compute, they decide who gets to create the next ChatGPT. Of course, not everything here is smoke and mirrors. Nvidia chips are powering real advances in AI. OpenAI's models are leaping forward, changing the way we work, play, create, and learn. Oracle's cloud is a digital cathedral, humming with genuine demand from startups and governments alike. There is progress. There is real value. No one can deny that. But what happens when you pour gasoline on the fire? When each deal, no matter how tangled, is reported as a fresh win, a brand new source of growth, whether or not it's rooted in reality? What happens when perception outpaces reality? When hype replaces scrutiny? There's a word for that in finance: bubble. And bubbles have a habit of popping. In the end, a question lingers. Who wins in a bubble? In the short term? Executives, early investors, and those clever or lucky enough to ride the wave. But when the illusion fades, when the deals run dry, when the numbers return to earth, who is left holding the bag? Is it the next generation of everyday investors, governments, workers, society itself? And that's not just capitalism. That's basically playing SimCity with the entire tech industry.
Behind the headlines, governments are watching closely. AI isn't just a business, it's a weapon of influence. The US has already restricted Nvidia's chip exports to China. Meanwhile, Oracle is pitching sovereign AI clouds, letting countries build AI systems inside their borders. The battlefield has shifted from code to compute. And this alliance, Nvidia, Oracle, and OpenAI, might be America's strongest weapon in this new digital Cold War. News about OpenAI partnering with Broadcom signals attempts to reduce dependence on Nvidia and influence international tech competition. Reports point to Oracle's emerging moves in sovereign AI and shifting data sovereignty strategies.
OpenAI knows it's walking a tightrope. It's now trying to design its own chips with Broadcom to reduce dependency on Nvidia. But the question remains, can anyone truly stay independent in a trillion-dollar ecosystem built on partnerships and power deals? Because in this world, freedom isn't about ideas anymore. It's about compute.
To the public, AI feels free. Free to chat, free to create, free to use. But behind that illusion lies a pyramid of power owned by a handful of billionaires, fueled by billions of dollars and powered by billions of watts. History repeats itself. Oil, railroads, the internet. Every open revolution begins with freedom and ends with control. They said AI would change the world. They never said who would own it.